Hi there, it's been a few weeks since my last review due to holidays, but let's get things going again with a Famicom game review. The game is known in Japan as Guardic Gaiden, or in Western territories as the Guardian Legend. There's a little look at the cartridge, which is all I have, no packaging for this one, so we'll just get straight on with the review after we take a look at the fact file for this game. So the Guardian Legend, or Guardic Gaiden, as I mentioned, it was released in 1988 in Japan. It's also available in the USA and also PAL-B format, but it wasn't ever released in the UK as far as I know. Published by Irem Corporation in Japan, but published by Broderbund in the USA. Developed by Compile, and the price I paid for it was £3.24. Pretty much a bargain, because the current going rate for the Japanese version as a cart only is about £10 to £15. A USA copy cart only is going to cost you about £10 plus, and if you want a box copy it's probably going to cost you the best part of £30 or more. So there's the fact file for the game. Let's take a look at it right now. So here we have the title screen, which as you can see there mentions Irem Corporation, licensed from Compile, and that's the Japanese logo for Guardic Gaiden. And there's not a lot in the way of options, but it will go into a sort of introduction to the game in a moment. Here we go. Typical scrolling text. A huge unidentified object is approaching the Earth, made in the far past, occupied and inhabited by a vicious creature in a long period. Not quite sure what that means. In order to save the Earth, the strongest women warriors will go into action. And that's it. That's basically your introduction to the game. So let's get the game started. As you can see, there is the option to continue with a password, which I don't have, so we'll be just doing a new game. And the game starts as a scrolling shoot 'em up. Very familiar looking spaceship for anyone who's seen any games that were made by Compile. And it's a normal vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, pretty fast in the background. The enemies don't move too quickly. It's pretty much impossible to shoot everything on the screen. Every time you get hit, a little shield engages, but you do lose some energy, which you can see on the blue bar on the bottom left there. Those little satellite things can't be shot, they just drain your energy if you run into them, so you need to avoid them. There are a few power-ups dropped during this section, but it's very difficult to get them because the screen moves so fast. It is, however, slowing down now. We move into a section which has got some gun turrets which fire a lot of bullets at you. You can actually shoot the bullets, which is useful, but it gets to the point where there's too many turrets to actually shoot everything, so you just have to start avoiding stuff, as you can see. So avoid a few projectiles. And then you move on to the end of level boss for the first little section, which again just throws a lot of bullets at you. Some power-ups do appear during this section, seemingly randomly, which give you extra health and the like. So it's just a case of moving from side to side, avoiding the projectiles as much as possible, and shooting all the various pods that are throwing the projectiles at you. Nothing much more to say really, just carry on doing it until I've wiped the boss out. Hopefully that'll be the case and I won't die. You do only get one life, by the way. When that health runs out, you're basically dead. Not basically dead, totally dead. There's a power up appearing there, but it's appeared underneath one of the graphics. Oh, there's one. So that's a heart power up, which basically replenishes all your health, which is what you need on these end of level bosses. Nearly got rid of it now. Gets a bit easier when most of the things that fire bullets at you disappear. And there you go, that's wiped out the first boss and completed the first area. And this is where things change somewhat, because now it becomes an overhead scrolling, dungeon crawling RPG type game. There's some text there which is obviously Japanese, which I can't read for you, but I think it was basically gives you the background of the game. I have watched the video of the game, the English version of the game, so yeah, it just gives you a bit of an introduction to the game. and then you wander around these screens. It's quite a large map, which we'll take a little look at in a moment. Various power-ups to pick up throughout the screens. You can move from various sections to sections. That's a power-up I've just picked up actually. So let's have a look at the sort of status screen, which, as you can see, shows you a map, various other things there, weapons you can pick up. There's nothing to choose other than your default weapon at the moment. Obviously whatever I picked up wasn't what I thought it was. Oh, that was the rapid fire. So I've got rapid fire now. So basically the idea is you move around the various screens, shooting enemies, picking up power-ups. It's almost RPG-like, but not really with any kind of real conviction about it. It's pretty much just like a scrolling run-and-gun maze game. These little things that you reveal on various screens with the little symbols on there are locks to various other areas, so you have to find the keys, which are done in a number of ways. There's quite a lot of dead ends, as you can see. I'm on one now. Oh, I'm getting all my energy drained away there. Some of the enemies can be destroyed and some can't. You have to be careful about which ones you run into. That's basically just another symbol there. So the aim is to, ultimately the aim of the game is to find some, I'll come back to the aim of the game in a minute. Basically it's to make this big space station self-destruct. That's the aim of the game. I've actually just triggered a little area where there's a mini boss. So this thing just pops up. It's really easy to destroy. It's just annoying really. Pops up out of the ground, leaves a little spider thing behind, which you've already been killing several of as you move around the stages, so they're not in any way dangerous really. So it's just a case of shooting it as many times as you can while it pops up, shoot the spider, wait for it to pop up again, and so on until you destroy it. There we go, it's gone, and that gives you a little blue smiley face, which actually makes your energy level a little bit higher. It's gone up by 1 to 9 instead of 8. Let's go to the right actually. So yeah, as I was saying, the aim of the game is to engage a self-destruct self-destruct sequence to destroy this big space station that you're currently stuck in, as I understand it from watching the English language YouTube videos at least. So to do that you've got to wander around and get through the various stages. Basically the aim is to power yourself up as much as possible and then get to this flashing area here on the left hand side. Once you do that, well, we'll see what happens when you do that. We'll not spoil the admittedly not that surprising surprise. So yeah, there's a lot of rooms that you wander in that you can't really do anything in at the moment. It does vary from screen to screen as to whether you get enemies, whether there's anything useful to pick up and so on. You can also vanish into these holes which give you other options. This one seems to let you navigate around the various sections a little bit more easily. This one I'm not sure what it does, it just seems to tell you something but nothing really happens. There's a couple on this section here. This one says something there. Lots of text. Don't really know what's going on. This one's a shortcut to another section of the maze, if you want to call it a maze. It is a maze. Not a very challenging maze, but it is a maze of sorts. Right, here's a power up on this screen, along with lots of winged thingies. So I'll just hammer away at for a little bit. Most of the time it's easier not to move with these things and just let them come to you. So that's one of the power-ups. So if I switch to that, you use the second button on the controller, the A button, to fire, and this allows you to fire in a direction different to the one you're pointing in, I think. Maybe not. Maybe that's only obvious when you're using it as a spaceship. So on we go. See if I can find anything else. I've got to 30,000, which is restores all your power basically. So as you'd expect, the power-up's a little bit more powerful. Here's a big red thing, not sure what this does. That's doubled the number of chips. Chips can be used to buy things, and they also use, you can also use them to power various weapons, I think. Oh, and I've also got what looks like a kind of 3-shot kind of firing thing now. Okay, there's another mini boss in this section here. Let's take a look at him. As you can probably tell with the doors closing around, you can actually escape if you're quick. There's not really much need to in the case of these early ones. This guy's just a big like arachnid thing that runs around after you, not very quickly. That's another different power up now, so we'll just have a look at that. That one engages a kind of force field around you, which continues to use up your shots until you disengage it. So let's do that before it'll get all my chips get wasted. As you can see, the chip count has gone down as a result of me using those shots with that particular item. There's another couple of power-ups to pick up, and then I'm going to go and get to that flashing area that I mentioned earlier. I think that's pretty much it now. Quick look around. Most of these things are things that you can't even get into at the moment, so the only reason to run around is to shoot stuff and try and find any interesting power-ups. So, I believe I'm in the right place here. Yeah, you can see I'm basically in the right section, right next to the flashing room. So just blast through a few of these crates or whatever they're supposed to be. Get myself into here. And this is the gateway to another section, but in order to get through it, you've got to get through this corridor. That's what that word says there. It says corridor. I know that again from looking at the English language version. So you get into the corridor by shooting at this blue square in the middle for a bit. And then once you do that, you can jump into the hole. And it goes back to being a shoot 'em up. As you can see, this also reveals that the woman that's been running around is actually also a spaceship. So this is a kind of scrolling, getting fairly slow scrolling. It looks like it's set under the sea based on the fact that these things are fish. Not entirely obvious that you can see that yet, but you will do at some point. So the big issue I have with this is that things appear quite far at each side, and you have to keep moving from left to right to try and get them, which makes it quite difficult to get them at certain points during the level, as you'll see. I haven't really talked much about the graphics and sound yet. They're pretty nicely done. Graphics are typical NES graphics, quite colourful. Spaceships quite nicely drawn. There you go, you can see that they're fish now. That's like some kind of manta ray or something. There's also seahorses which throw themselves at you. So yeah, the graphics are quite nicely done, quite colourful as I said. Sounds also decent, nice background music, and the usual sort of laser firing noises as you'd expect from a shoot 'em up game. Graphics within the maze sections are reasonably bland, but the backgrounds are okay, I suppose. They do the job of giving you a maze to walk around. So it plods along a little bit, this. It's not the most exciting shoot 'em up. Lots of moving from left to right. You can engage some of your power-ups, which might come useful at some point in the game. So let's just put that on, just in case I need it. Easier, slightly more challenging enemy, which I'm trying to get rid of. I have to shoot that red eyeball. He wasn't too challenging because I've still got the quite powerful fire. Here's another one of those things. It's quite generous with the power-ups at this point, and you will need them when you get to the end of the level. quite a shoal of fish attacking me here now. In fact, I'll just deploy this swirly power up to try and help myself out a little bit there, which, as I mentioned earlier, you have to then disengage again by this status menu, which is a bit of a strange thing, but there you go. So I'll just disengage that. Not sure quite what's left before we reach the end of the stage now. Slowing down now, so it is reaching the end of the stage. I'm going to switch back to that one which I found the most useful for the end of level boss, which is coming up. You can probably guess what this is going to be. Yes, it's a big unpleasant looking fish that swoops towards you, also fires some of these annoying little homing things, so you can just engage this swirly power up to try and fend some of those off. Try not to get killed. There's a health power up, which is useful. That won't last forever. You can see the shots are going down on it, but it does do quite a bit of damage. It also wards off some of the enemies, which is good, although I'm making a bit of a hash of this at the moment. Really do with that power up there. Oh, this is bad news. I've got very little health left now. And I'm dead. Quite a tough boss for the first serious boss that you face. So that's game over. As I mentioned, only one life. But handily you can continue, which you do so by pushing start, and it sends you back to some point in the maze, and you have to basically make your way through it again and play through some of the maze section again, and then ultimately go to the through the scrolling shoot 'em up level as well. So I won't bore you too much by wandering through all that again. Let's have another crack at it, and I'll restart the camera when I get back to that end of level boss. So here I am again at end of level boss. I'm going to use the same approach and hope it works better this time. I've missed out on a power up straight away there, which is a bit disappointing. It's absolutely impossible to avoid all the projectiles it shoots at you. I feel like it's going slightly better this time though, for the most part. The main thing is just not to get stuck underneath him. Oh, there you go, I got him. And a health power up to boot. So there you go, that wasn't so bad second time around, and as you can see I get a key with a moon on it. A little intermission sequence as I turn back into a woman, and that thing gets blown up. Collect the thing in the middle there, and when I shoot this, as you can see, there's a moon on that, which allows me to open this section up and move into the second section of the game, which is more corridors and maze elements, but in blue instead of green. I think that's trying to tell me I should go left, don't you? And this is pretty much uncharted territory for me because I've only got this far once before. So we'll just see what happens now. Music's changed again, still fairly jolly. That's a nice unoccupied corridor. I suppose you should take a look at the map really at this point. So as you can see on the map there, there's now several options, although I can only, this is the original section I was in, I think. This suggests there's another section open further down from that. I'm sticking to this section at the moment. I'm going to try and get to this blob here, which presumably will be another one of these so-called corridors. Let's see what happens. I'm thinking avoiding things for the most part is the best approach. Some kind of power up to be picked up there. Which I'll get to in due course, and I've got rid of some of these things. Oops. That's quite annoying when you move off the screen which is quite easy to do because it's not right at the edge of the screen. You do have to go back and kill everything again. So that power up, I'm not quite sure what that does, so let's have a look at what that does. Oh, okay, it sends two kind of laser bolts left and right or up and down, which I'm thinking is fairly useless at the moment. So I'm going to use this one for a little bit instead, which is like a little sort of sword. Doesn't fire stuff very far, but it does quite a bit of damage. So let's see, what happens if I go left here? There's like a giant sort of, I don't know, carrot? Giant green carrot after me now. Don't like that much. Oh, this is bad news. These things are lethal. More arachnid things. There's a lot of spiders in this game. Another power up perhaps there. I've got absolutely no health left, so I've got to be pretty careful here. Oh, that's useful. That's giving me a bit of health left, and that's giving me even more. In fact, it's powered my health up to 11. That's useful. It's all going quite well at the moment. Okay, so I can get through there with another moon, and I've got another corridor, I guess, here now. I've got to that section as I intended. Can I jump in here? Yeah. And yeah, it's another shooting bit, so let's go back and have a look at that. Totally uncharted territory now, so let's see what happens. It's another sea-based scrolling shoot 'em up level with some starfish this time, just positioning themselves in various places across the screen. Bit more colourful this one. It's got some greenery as well as the things that were on the previous iteration of the level. Otherwise it seems to be much the same. It shoots stuff, collects any power-ups that happen to materialise, of which there are very few so far. Here's one. There we go, that's a nice health power-up just when I needed it. These fish are slightly more aggressive, possibly because they're orange instead of green. Music's the same as the previous Seabound level though, so that's not very exciting. Just thinking I probably don't want... Let's try having this thing here. Oh yeah, that could prove useful here. It's really impacting my ability to... Really impacting my ability to fire it with any kind of power though for some reason. This is not looking good now. I'm going to resort to my old favourite to try and keep myself alive a little bit longer. I'm not sure what that was. Is that a big squid? I'm not entirely sure. And I'm dead. That didn't go particularly well in the end. The question now is where it's going to send me back to, and whether it's worth continuing any further as a result of this. Oh, this looks ominous. Oh, it sent me miles back, all the way back to the green maze. This could be the point at which I give up. The only question... Oh, the rest of it is open still though, so let's go and have a look down to the lower half of it. So here's another moon-shaped keyhole thing. And that's taken me to a room with a blue smiley chap in. I'm not sure what's going on here. Ah yeah, this is the password screen. It gives you a password for accessing the next section of the game, I think. Which is a lot of Japanese characters which I'm not going to bother to memorise. So let's just see what we can find through this section. More blue terrain. And some very aggressive birds. Which I'm making absolutely no progress in killing. So moving on, I'm kind of losing interest in the game now. It's an interesting premise. The mixture of a sort of scrolling maze game crossed with a shoot 'em up is quite original, or certainly was original in its time. And it's quite nicely put together graphically, well programmed and everything. I just find it a bit dull really. There's a lot of very similar looking corridors and rooms to manoeuvre around, which aren't very exciting. Lots of repetitive enemies to shoot, and then when you get to the shooting sections, which should be the more exciting sections, they're quite challenging and frustrating really, in that there's all the enemies seem to be on one side of the screen or the other, and to get from one side to the other and actually shoot everything is quite difficult. Got another door here. Okay, another one of these corridors, so let's just have another look at another vertical scrolling level and see if it's any different, and I think we'll wrap it up. Yep, it's more fish. Blue fish this time, which move a lot faster. Oh, the whole thing's moving a lot faster in fact. But you can see what I mean. The things move around, it's virtually impossible to shoot everything, and therefore bullets and enemies just hit you all over the place and you end up losing health. And it's only the fairly abundant supply of power-ups that give you any chance of completing each stage. This is really boring now. Oh, something is happening. I mean, there's no chance to collect any power-ups during this section. The screen's moving too fast. And I've got virtually no health left either, so I don't expect it's going to last too much longer. I'm not going to continue again. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I'm just not that enthralled by the whole thing, to be honest. It's not as exciting as it sort of promises to be based on the two styles of game that it's combining. Yeah, and that's me dead. That said, I'll probably keep hold of it because it only cost me like less than £4, so I may as well maybe have another go at it sometime. And perhaps if I take a photo of the screen with those passwords on, I can make my way through it a little bit easier than I'm doing when I have to start from the beginning every time. So all in all, not a fantastic game, probably worth a look. It's probably a bit easier to play the English language version than the Japanese one, but that does cost a little bit more, so it's a trade-off versus value versus ease of playing, I suppose. That pretty much sums it up for this one.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.